the book Fahrenheit 451, we observe many parallels and symbolism that strongly resemble our own world, starting from wall screens to the construction of mass entertainment as a norm of everyday life. There are, however, amidst the loudness that the book describes, very heavily silent and quiet moments like the encounter between Montag and Clarice, and Montag's own journey and change from an everyday person to a fully aware and different person that he originally was at the start of the book. So Montag's journey from pleasure to truth is, well, kind of like our journey. We sometimes need to experience things like pain and sorrow or fun to see things like truth, joy, and happiness that help us go on with our lives. And for the first few pages of the book, we observe that when Montag is burning books, his first immediate response is pleasure. As the first words of the book says, when he thinks to himself, it was a pleasure to burn. Now, Guy Montag doesn't question the everyday life that he has, which is burning books and serving as a fireman diligently. However, an encounter with a girl named Clarice proved otherwise, which led him to ponder and wonder about their encounter. And so Clarice, she is an example of how some people out there make us realize that maybe some things aren't as they seem, and how truth is often presented to us frequently, whether we are aware of it or not. And so after his encounter with Clarice, Montag reflects on how affected he was due to her and him talking that night, as if he was aware that something was not right, or his doubt and question. And he reunites with her to talk to Clarice some more, slowly discovering things about him and that he would not have seen anywhere else. And during this time, Montag is slowly developing and changing and evolving as he's coming to realize that many of what he sees and does in everyday life is very monotonous or boring, not full with excitement or joy or full with pleasure. And he begins to ask questions and seek the truth, which is the opposite of what people like him are supposed to do in the story. And as the story progresses further and further, Montag's encounter with a woman is very crucial to his development and change as he grabs a book to see for himself if it is true. After returning to his home, he still feels uncomfortable, like if there was something he needed to look at or discover. And slowly, what he is doing is that Montag is slowly starting to pay attention to himself and add his senses and sights. He didn't accept what was around him unquestionably, as of now. Instead, now he wants to look for the truth and wonder if it is true. And Montag's journey to becoming himself had yet to come, since he still had things that he needed to realize and do before he became the man he was at the end. And he came to see reality different than his everyday life that he lived. But in many ways, we need some sort of push or motivation in order to become the person we are meant to be. We can't expect a form of luck or trait that is within us. We need the extra push. And in a sense, this is what Montag needed. He wasn't a man without his faults, or a man oblivious of himself, since he chose to listen to Clarice McClellan when he could have ignored her. And eventually, by paying attention and seeing what was around him, Montag eventually changed from believing what was told and done around him to thinking and questioning what he saw or did. And so as the story continues, we witness Montag visiting Faber in the quest for more knowledge, and after an encounter with him, he is one of the few people that trust and believe in him as a friend. Montag then proceeds to return home after he has discovered more hidden facts from the man, and only to find that the way of life he had once lived is all loud and sensational, the opposite of what he was accustomed in the beginning of the book, where it was a pleasure to burn. And so now he doesn't no longer feel like returning or going back to his job. He really wants to find out more about what he had so much lost. And in a sense, this is what he did by thinking about his encounter with Clarice. He wasn't alone, and there were people who supported him. And even though his past life was a burden to return to, he doesn't desire to go back to the life he once had, but he only wants the truth and begins to realize the absurdity of his past life. He goes back to the firehouse only to encounter the villain of the book, Beatty, only to tempt him to go back to his normal life and to submit what everyone else is doing. And at this point of the book, nearing the end, Montag has already suffered a lot of adversity. Everyone is against him, and very few friends trust and know him, and his marriage with his wife is failing since she doesn't pay attention to him, but to the walls she watches every day. He also kills the villain, and he is shunned for being himself by the firemen, and he can't seem to concentrate on a world which is constantly riddled with distractions. Yet, Montag, his personality, he has one of the most important qualities that people in the book, many in the book, don't share, which is his resilience. And no matter how tough his trials may get for him, he never seems to give up, but seems to hold on to the truth in the hopes that it will get better in the end. The final part of the book concludes with many surprising turn of events, which, starting from Montag burning his house, to becoming a fugitive for the murder of Beatty, to the bombing of the city he lived in by an ongoing war, all the way down to the fact that he needed to start over. And so, in our lives, we do need to realize why we are wrong, which in many times is difficult to do since we think we are right when we could be mistaken. And in the book, many people, including the society, thought they were right, but instead were mistaken for not looking for the truth. And of all the overlying themes that appear in Fahrenheit 451, the one theme that completes the full circle of the book is the truth. Starting from Montag's change in order to see the truth and his discovery of a horrific world started with his desire to ask for the truth. Truth isn't presented not only in the book frequently, but to us in many ways, and we, in our lives, are often left with a choice to accept it or not. And so, Fahrenheit 451 teaches many examples, some old, some new. However, at the heart of its core and its story, the most profound message of truth stands out and shines forth more than anything else we would expect to find in social media or through technology. All we have to do is just ask for the truth, and in the end, we shall receive.